Thank you, everyone, for joining in for today's ZIPINAR. We are here today with another day of our goal of making our community more empowered and enhanced. How do we do that? We bring in you with speakers from different areas, from different, having different knowledge, so that we can all learn something new. If we already know the subject, we can have a different perspective, but our goal here is to empower and have an informed community. Having said that, what we want for you, for the participants, the attendees to do is that share the link, share the word so that others can also get helped. If you have new ideas, please do share with us. Email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. We do not stop here. We also go, apart from professional webinars, we do our try to empower our youth. And we have our youth sessions, which are strategically done with empowering the youth in public speaking, giving them prep sessions, and then they go live on Saturdays. Older youth group goes live on Saturdays, 4 p.m. EST, and we have a younger youth group starting from 6 years age. So we do all this from Let Us Talk It platform, and we hope that all of you who have joined in or who know about it can also help us in empowering us and giving us more information from the people that you know. So with that, we begin today's session. Our topic for today is definitely both the speakers are unique. Our first speaker will be talking about design thinking for small businesses, design thinking and its problem-solving techniques for small businesses. Is a new method, new way of thinking, but we hope that definitely it enhances this new concept. And to speak on the topic, we have Srinivas GRK, and he is the founder of HyperThought software and design thinking enthusiast. He has a unique blend of technology and program management experience. He wears many hats, and he's also a skilled agile program consultant with close to 20 years of IT experience. And most of all, he is so passionate about what he does, and he has made sacrifices. He has done things to do something new, to think differently. That's all that we need to learn from him, I think. Let's go for it. Thank you so much, Srinivas, for joining in today. Today, there will be confusion. We have both the speakers with their name as Srinivas. So please, this is Srinivas G, and the next speaker will be Srinivas P. And we have our CEO as Srinivas. We call him Srini. So it's all Srini Day. So let's go ahead. Over to you, Srinivas G.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Juran. And thanks for having me here on this show. It's an honor actually to speak about design thinking for small business owners. And first, let me share my screen. Let me know once you see it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. First, I'll start with myself. Okay, I'm Srinivas GRK. I have a pretty lengthy name, so I shortened it a bit. But people call me Srini, as I think we have around 3 Srinis here on this call or on this webinar. So what I do, I actually I'm a founder of HyperThought software. It's a software boutique consulting firm based out of Hyderabad. I'll talk about HyperThought a little later in the next slide. And I'm actually a lean agile design thinking enthusiast, and I also teach over the weekends to executive MBA grads here at IMT, Institute of Management Technologies. And I have close to 2 decades of technology experience. I worked for Oracle USA for 4 years. I stayed in US for 1 H1B tenure. And I'm also a scaled agile program consultant at Agile 17. Recently, I I just signed up a partnership with Agile 17 to run the business for safe online trainings as well. So that's simply about me. And let's go to the next slide. Yeah, regarding HyperThought, it's here we convert the ideas to reality, and we are highly focused on empowering the small business companies with the innovative technology solutions and innovative marketing solutions as such. And we do have our own in-house or we developed our own SaaS-based tool called Springback. It's not out yet. It is in its early adopter stage. So we have our early adopters testing it. And then once that validation is done, we are going to go actually to the public, and then we're actually going to onboard many new users on that. But for now, actually, HyperThought is involved in two things. One is we have our own SaaS-based tool called Springback, and it's a kind of a marketing automation tool, HubSpot, right? A very similar functionality to HubSpot, plus actually SMS and email marketing embedded into it, and referral marketing and testimonial capturing, and you can launch even campaigns. So a lot of features are there out there. So you can check it out after going to this website, hyperthought.in. And today, actually, what are we going to talk for the next 30 minutes, right? What is design thinking? People have some misconception on design thinking. When they think of design, they think about logos and they think about artists. But we're not going to discuss anything about logos and artists here. We are going to talk entirely different design thinking, how it relates to the business in general. And we do have some techniques of problem reframing. Problem reframing is a methodology that you actually use when you are actually going to come up with some innovative solutions. So how do we actually apply these frameworks? And then we also just look at some of the qualities of an innovator in any organization. What is the DNA of that? And then we will discuss a few canvases to consider for your own business, where you can actually really put to use, and we have some Q&A session at the end. So this is what we are going to discuss about design thinking for small businesses. And these are my coordinates, actually, my email, phone number, and website. And these are my social handles, just in case if anybody wanted to connect or reach out to me. Well, with that, I'll just hop on to the other presentation. Just let me know if you're able to see the entire screen. Are you able to see? Can anybody confirm? Okay, I hope I'm audible. Am I there actually? Okay.
Yes, Srinivas.
Okay, cool. Sure. So let's get started on the actual topic today. So design thinking for small businesses. So why we are talking about design thinking for small businesses? Because as we know, majority of these innovative companies like P&G, Apple, and Google, and for that matter, Samsung, all these companies are leveraging design thinking, and they're actually growing, and they're thriving in their own segments. And design thinking, as they are applying, they become actually quite innovative in each and everything they do for their products and services. So let us see what is actually the current situation in these companies, right? Design-centric organizations or design-centric companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, and all these Intuit and all these companies, if you look at it, actually, they outperformed the S&P 500 by 211%. Of course, this is actually 216 data, but all these companies share one thing in common. It is actually their focus and customer and delivering best user experience possible. and which is completely rooted into design thinking methodology, and knowingly or unknowingly. And this is a conscious effort by these companies to indulge into the design thinking methodology. The pro the We also have to look at what are the current problems of linear thinking, or what is the stage gate approach that we generally take. We actually scope something, and then we actually do some sort of an idea generation here, and then we build the business case. We just go and build it. You go to the development, right? These are the gates actually. You may call it as a waterfall method in the software development methodology, but it is basically a linear approach where you're not iterating anything, you're not getting the feedback anywhere, you are just going in the straight one line. You just conceive a concept here, and then you just go and build it and test it, and then launch the product launch, right? So what is the problem with this approach is that you have something called set-based theory and point-based theory. This is a point-based theory. When you do not explore at the beginning itself the multiple options that could be done, and when you actually approach in this linear approach, the cost of switching back to the first stage and again doing it is actually very high. So that is the reason this model works for efficiency, for not effectiveness. So statistically speaking, this process contains it tries to contain the type A error, which in the innovation they call it as failed innovation, at the cost of type B error, which is missed innovation. So any entrepreneur, if you ask them, missed innovation is a big loss, and in terms of the opportunity cost and everything, right? So, and please feel free to stop me anywhere if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to actually get into an interaction. Generally, problem solution, if you have, right? So there is a problem and there is a solution. This is actually from the book called Dr. Pawan Soni. When the problem is known and the solution is known, we actually apply the lean thinking, which is you can call it as like you don't want the variance to happen there. You wanted to have a low variance and better predictability, just like Six Sigma, right? And quality control and everything comes under this, because your problem is known and as well as your solution is known. And when the problem is actually unknown and the solution is known, that's when you apply the critical thinking, where the theory of constraints, right? Eliyahu Goldrat's theory of constraints will apply here in this space. But when the problem is actually known but the solution is unknown, that is when the lateral thinking will come into picture. Actually, Edward de Bono came up with this lateral thinking concept, where you apply, you break down that constraints, and then you break down that rationality. You completely say, for example, given everything is fulfilled, how would you design the solution? So you need to come out of that fixed mindset and then start thinking about the lateral thinking. We will actually discuss some of how we can actually do the lateral thinking here. And the best thing, or the most effective thing in this quadrant is design thinking. When you don't know the problem, when you don't know the solution, you don't know what exactly is going to work, that is when the exploration and experimentation is going to happen. You poke the system, something will come out, you don't know what is going to come out, right? That's when actually the design thinking is going to be applied, and it involves indulgence in failed experiments, learn from it very fast, and then actually move forward with that learning. So design thinking is a kind of a shift in the mindset, if you call, because not everybody wanted to experiment a lot. But if you do not know what exactly you are actually embarking on, you tend to actually experiment and learn from it very well. So the best design thinker I can think of from the old times is Thomas Alva Edison, because he was not shy away from failing and learning from it. So before he invented that bulb, he failed several times. So That's the best example that I could give for design thinking from the past. So design thinking. Yeah,
sorry
we
to
have. Sorry.
interrupt.
Yeah, you have a question there.
Yeah, if you go to the one slide back.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about this lean thinking, you
Right.
said a problem is unknown.
No, problem is known and solution is also known. So here the known. So I know what to build, I know how to build it, and I just don't want any deviation from the quality aspect. So it's a kind of a known.
No, not the lean thinking, the critical thinking.
Right.
So
Yeah.
here my question is, in critical thinking,
Uh-huh.
if the problem is unknown, so how did you arrive at the solution without knowing
Well,
the
right. So here the thing is that you know that the solution is there, but you don't know how the problem actually arrived. For example, if there is a process improvement, for example, right? If there is a product improvement, in which case you know that product or process needs to be improved, but why that needs to be improved, you don't know the problem. So that is when the theory of constraint needs to be applied here, because you need to figure out the underlying constraint that needs to be removed here. Once you remove the constraint, you actually get into the you figure out the problem and then you actually apply it. Is it making any sense?
I'm thinking something differently. So
Okay.
without knowing the problem, how did you arrive the solution, and the solution for what? For without actually knowing the problem, how can you build a solution?
No, you without knowing the problem, because what happens is sometimes when you actually define the problem, we tend to embed the solution into it majority of the time, knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, you actually carry some solution in your own mind, that is like a confirmation bias, we call it in psychology, right? You actually try to conceive a problem along with the solution itself, and you actually try to fit it in. Okay, so sometimes there is a phenomena where you say that say for example, I can give you in Bangalore, people are not actually wearing the helmet, bikers especially, and people were like, why is this happening? They know that there has to be some sort of a problem there, but they're not wearing the helmet. So they came up with a thing called no helmet, no petrol. So petrol bunks stopped actually filling in the two-wheelers petrol tank if you are not actually wearing the helmet. So the thing is that here sometimes it is the given you are unknowingly following certain kind of a solution in a known space, but there are issues that are coming up due to constraints and the problem is unknown, but you have a solution out there. It's a known solution, but you don't know the underlying reasons. So the underlying reasons can be uncovered only when you actually have the constraints uncovered. Probably, I think that's a kind of a use case that we could take and then actually explain it further. That is
okay.
when, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So the thing is here, the design thinking, if you take Six Sigma, right? Six Sigma, black belt test, and all those things, you know, right? This bell curve and Six Sigma. So Six Sigma to what Six Sigma is to quality, design thinking is to innovation actually. So if you really want to innovate, you got to indulge into design thinking in one form or other to innovate. Okay, so that's a kind of an analogy that I would like to mention over here. Now there is a framework called it is a framework developed by David Snowden. It's called Kunawin, though the spelling sounds a little different. It's a Welsh word which translates to place or habitat. Here also a very similar kind of a situation what we discussed earlier. When it's a sense-making framework, you have an ordered systems and you have unordered systems, and you have four domains here. And leaders actually, whenever they have any situation, they really sometimes actually apply these principles to make sure what they exactly need to do. Say, for example, if you have in the ordered system, you have simple and complicated. When you have a cause and effect relationship is well established and perceived and predicted, you know what exactly do, because whatever you do that produces the same results. So here the best application is like standard operating procedures, and the best practices are applied here in the simple domain. Okay, so you sense it, you categorize it, and you respond to it. That is how you do it in the domain. And the moment you go to the complicated is a little potentially knowable. Cause and effect relationships are separated in time and space, so it is like experts domain. So when you have a problem, you analyze it, you know that you need an expert to fix it. That is how you sense it, analyze it, respond it. So experts come into play here, and they actually apply the systems thinking and then scenario planning, and then they actually address the complicated system. And when it comes to the complex domain, in the complex domain, cause and effect relationships are not repeatable. You can only see it in the retrospective. Okay, retrospectively coherent, but you cannot actually say that the cause and effect can be repeated. So this is where in this domain actually you start doing a lot of experimentation and exploration. This is when you probe and sense and respond. The domain, because you don't know what is going to come out of it, that is when you probe it, you sense it, and you respond to it, right? So that is how actually this particular domain is being dealt at the unordered system. Of course, in chaotic actually you don't apply, you actually just you act on it, you sense, and you immediately respond. These are the critical conditions when you have everything is falling apart, and the leader here, he's not running analytics or he's not doing anything. He immediately need to contain the situation, and it is a kind of a crisis management. For example, if you have a product defect and immediately you need to respond to it, it's a kind of a crisis management. And here the idea here is he needs to immediately contain the damage, and then immediately bring it to either complex or complicated. And then once the system stabilizes, the complicated will come into the simple, where the standard operating and the best practices are being applied. And of course, the fifth domain is disordered, where it is called confusion domain, where you don't know, because you cannot make any sense out of it, because it is too chaotic in nature. And if you are in the disordered system, you got to place it either one of these four coordinates. Of course, you can't place it here. Immediately it slips to here, chaotic, and then they go here. So any questions on this? Actually, this is a very interesting framework for leaderships to take decisions. It's a sense-making framework. So people do apply it. And if you actually Google about this David Snowden, he actually submitted his thesis in Harvard, and he published a paper on this one. So it's very interesting if you really want to go through it in an elaborate manner. Okay. Let's see, what's the problem reframing? Okay. So how many of you actually know various techniques of problem solving? I'm actually running out of time. So problem reframing. So let me see what the best we can do. So sometimes actually most of us, whenever we have any problem, we head straight into the solution part. We don't actually ask, are we actually solving the right problems? Because sometimes we take it for granted the way the problem is framed, and then we immediately jump onto the solutions. So problem reframing techniques actually urges us to stop and step back and then ask, are we actually solving the right problems? Are we actually focusing on the right ones, instead of actually expending your energy and time on the wrong problems? So how much do we waste time, money, energy, and our lives by solving the wrong problems most of the times? And what if we could get better at solving the right problems, right? more than 50 years of research has shown reframing is an exceptionally powerful skill. Okay, so reframing is really, really a good tool when it comes to problem solving methodologies. People who master reframing make better decisions, get more original ideas, tend to lead more remarkable lives. So that is what we are actually going to discuss in the next few slides. At the heart of the method is a counterintuitive insight. Sometimes it is like you just take a pause and you don't really jump right into the solution part of it. You have to stop looking for the solution to it, and then you say instead you must turn your attention to the problem itself, not to analyze it, but to shift the way you frame it. So I can give you an example in the next slide so that you can actually relate to it. Reframing is the single biggest missing tool in our cognitive toolbox. That's what actually people are saying nowadays. So there is a typical problem called the slow elevator problem. So let's do something. Imagine this: you are an owner of a building, and then if your tenants are complaining about the elevator that it is too slow and too old, and then several tenants are threatening that, and they are going to break the lease if you don't fix the problem, right? And then most people quickly identify some solutions, like you immediately replace the lift, install a stronger motor, perhaps upgrade the algorithms that runs the lift, right? These solutions fall into which called solution space. Immediately you're actually jumping onto the solution the moment you get it, right? So the problem framing is elevator is too slow. Solution finding is, immediately the solution space, you immediately address it because you're immediately jumping onto it. So actually the way you can reframe it is, why is it okay, it is too slow, what exactly is happening? So if you conduct the user interviews and the research, it comes out that the wait time is annoying. So make the wait time feel shorter. How do you do that? Put up a mirrors, play music, install hand sanitizer. So it's the same problem, but you are actually reframing it and you are addressing a different or coming up with a different solution. Remember, here you are not actually fixing the main problem. You are actually reframing it. So that is actually one of the example that I can give. And by the way, this is actually coming from this concept is coming from a person called Thomas Wedel. Actually, he's a professor who came up with this intuitive technique, and he has a very elaborative canvas that can be used for addressing some of the problem reframing solutions, because we cannot discuss that here because we have we do not have that much time to discuss about that framework. Any questions on this, Srini?
No, I'm good.
Very good. Excellent. So there are two different ways to look new angles on a problem. So one of the ways, like when you try to reframe problem by delving deeper into the details of the first framing. So when you actually define a problem, you actually say, okay, you already framed it, you actually dig deeper into that framing itself. The other thing is breaking the frame. When I say breaking the frame, you step away from the first framing, put entirely a different spin on it. So for example, I can give the innovation that happened a few years ago for the incubators that were designed for developing countries. Kids are dying because they are not able to get into the neonatal care, or that immediately they need to rush to the hospital to get the medical help. But they were actually trying to focus on the low cost incubator, so the stripped down version of it. And then when they actually the design team, when they went to the Nepal, they understood that they don't even have any power or electricity to have the incubation. Even if you design a stripped down version of an incubator, they will not be in a position to operate it because they don't have the electricity. So they came up with a bag, completely a different solution. So they came up with a bag that has some sort of a gel in it, and if you pour the warm water in it, and then that bag, you can wrap that bag around the infant, which can keep that infant warm until they get to a medical facility. So they actually came up with that kind of a solution. So just to give an example on that. So what exactly is a design thinking? Okay, design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from designers' toolkit to integrate the needs of the people, possibilities of technology, and requirements for business success. So there are three domains that actually needs to intersect. At the intersection is where that design thinking lies. Tim Brown, he's an IDEO person who actually made this design thinking famous because of the Stanford D School and IDEO. So human-centered, it is like, okay, whether what do people desire? So is it desirable? Okay, is it feasible? Technically, is it feasible? Is it financially viable, right? So can you make the money with it, or can you deliver it? Will people want it? So this is where at the intersection is where the sweet spot lies. So that is where actually we need to focus when you are actually coming out with the design feasibility. So what is design thinking is an approach problem solving in which inspiration, ideation, and implementation occur not in sequence, but as a system of overlapping spaces. So this is not a linear approach, by the way. This is actually an iterative process. That is what it makes it more useful, because you have a feedback mechanism that goes back to the system, and then you actually improvise it. Okay, so you need to ideate and then implement an inspiration kind of a thing. So for solving the problems elegantly, we need to embrace design thinking as yin and yang of chaos and order, divergent and convergent thinking, structure and fluidity, because if left on their own, most organizations would like to reduce variance and increase predictability instead of getting comfortable with greater variance and ambiguity. So one of the key tenets of design thinking is you got to actually live with the ambiguity and uncertainty, and you also got to live with the variance, because you are exploring and experimenting, right? So in that situation, leadership and the organization got to actually have a tolerance for that kind of a failed attempts. In case if they are too much onto the command control approach, then probably they would not appreciate it, and then they'll not be in a position to innovate as well. So Stanford D School thinking process is something like this 5-step process. You empathize, you define, you ideate, and you prototype, and you test it. And again, all these things are non-linear. So again, you come back to at one point of stage to the back. So first you got to empathize, you do the interviews, and then you need to be a good anthropologist to do kind of an empathizing thing, because you got to actually do the interviews without bias, without any judgment, and you actually observe. User is not directly going to say they want this. They actually behave in certain way that you got to observe, and then you got to actually synthesize those observations and then put it in place. And then you actually got to define it based on the personas, and then based on their pain points that you observed in the empathize phase, and then you got to ideate it. So what is that ideation? Like, here the divergence and convergence thing will come into picture. You create the possibilities, and again, you narrow it down, and then you prototype it. So the idea here is not to build a perfect solution. The idea here is to come up based on this hypothesis. You got to test those hypotheses by creating a low fidelity prototype and bring it in front of the customers, and then get the feedback, right? So this is the process of the entire design thinking that actually will make sure that you will actually deliver great products and services. By the way, design thinking is not just about designing the products alone. It is also about designing the services and experiences as well. And the design thinking, you have the problem space and solution space. You have divergence. When you are understanding and define, you have divergence. You got to create options here. You got to converge. We call it as double diamond in design thinking. So in the design problem, you got to diverge a little bit, and then you got to converge, because At the diverging phase, you got to do a lot of lateral thinking, and then create a lot of options using various methodologies. And then once you actually diverge at the defined phase, you again ideate here and then prototype it. And then at the time of prototyping, you got to converge and test it and validate it. So this is the overall process of the design thinking whenever you are applying for any service or process. So I hope I'm on time, or do I still have some time, Srini, or I'm going a little. Okay.
Yeah, you've gone over a little bit. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
still have
So
more slides to take?
Yeah. So I'll finish it. Just give me a few more minutes, and then I'll be done. Okay, because we started little late also, so we will stop this one. Yeah, sure. So yeah, so no one cares about your product. You have to care about your users, actually. Okay, so some of the useful canvases that you can consider for your business are the buyer's persona, empathy map, customer journey map, and business model canvas and value proposition canvas. So these are the key you can immediately apply in your actually business when you are actually going first. So business plans are great, but nowadays people are actually trying to put them in a framework, simple framework like this. And then if your entire business can be defined by this, I know what exactly you are trying to do. Basically, who are your customer segments? What's your value proposition? And what's your CRM? And what's the channels that this value proposition is getting delivered to the customer segments? And that will compose your actually revenue streams. And your cost structure depends on your key resources and what they are doing and what your key partners are. And that constitutes your key structure. So if you take an example of Netflix, so Netflix is a subscription model for the revenues. They have product replacement and then cost structure here. So they have key activities, key resources, their investors, filmmakers, and all these things, right? So I'm just giving an example on how this business model canvas can be done for your own business using this example. And then you have a value proposition map. Just remember, if I go back here, there is a product market fit. That problem will come because these are the customers. This is your value proposition. Is your value proposition attractive enough? Are you actually designing your value proposition attractive enough to your customer segments? Is what determines the success, right? So that's where the value proposition canvas comes into picture. Your customer has jobs to be done. Frankly speaking, they hire you for the jobs to be done. And you got to actually rank them in the increasing priority. And then they have some gains and they have pains. Whatever the value proposition you are designing, whether it is a product or service, it should enhance their gains and then reduce their pains. So we call it as pain relievers and gain creators. So when you come up with that value proposition, that will be immediately be applicable and will be very attractive to your target customers. One of the example is that portable dialysis unit. So patient's perspective, right? So they cannot travel. The patient has to travel. It's expensive, and the pain relievers is capex and opex. It's cheaper, home usage, lightweight, right? Portable. So it actually increases. So this is a kind of an example on how you actually use the value proposition canvas. And then you have buyer's persona. Remember, buyer's persona is different from market segmentation, because market segmentation may have this segment size, but here at buyer's persona, you have their attitudes and behaviors and mental models as well. So that is what constitutes your buyer's persona. A simple example of buyer's persona, like a photo, and then their status, their personality, their educational background, what kind of magazines they read, journals they read, what kind of sites they visit, what's their brands they are using, what kind of technology, are they tech savvy or extrovert or introvert, what are their frustrations, what are their goals. So this constitutes your buyer's persona. And then we have two more canvas, and then I'll be done. And then there is something called empathy map canvas. Whenever you are actually defining something or trying to empathize with your end user or your end customer, you got to actually determine what exactly they are thinking and feeling, right? What exactly they are seeing and saying, and what exactly they are hearing, right? So if you use this empathy canvas, empathy map canvas, you will actually understand at what situation and what exactly they are feeling. So this is a very useful canvas I did last time with my students, and it came out really well. So it's just check it out in case if you're curious. Empathy map canvas. So that's and then last canvas. This is customer journey mapping. Whenever you have, say for example, emotional Eric here, and he's a car buyer, and how does he actually, what does he do in the first week? It's a consider phase, exploration phase, compare phase, test phase, and negotiate phase. What are the emotions that he will be undergoing at that time at each phase, and what you can do about those things to minimize that? So if you map the journey mapping, if you do the customer journey mapping, you will be in a better position to understand what exactly they are going through instead of directly just thinking about the product. So yeah, so I think I think these slides cannot be covered in this particular thing. So definitely I'll actually give it back to you. And then thanks for this opportunity. If you have any questions on this, please feel free to ask me.
All right. Thank you so much, Srinivas. I'll be replacing Jolan for now. So thank you for that very concise and insightful topic, especially the canvases that includes the senses and the psychology of the customers or buyers. Now we move forward with the next
Thanks
topic.
A lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the next topic would be intercompany sales and billing in SAP. So this is a full review on the sales and distribution in SAP, which will be discussed by a certified SAP SD principal consultant and a senior project manager at Cognizant with 16 years of experience in SAP SD out of the 24 plus years of overall experience in software development activities. May I present to you, without further ado, Mr. Srinivas Pinisetti. Take over.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for introducing me. That's a sweet one. Let me see if I can share my screen. You cannot start screen share while other participants sharing. Okay. So Srinivas, can you please unshare your screen, please?
Yeah, sure. I will. Is it still shared? Mine?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
I think I'm good now.
It's not shared, Srini.
Yeah. So let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I put it in the slide show, will you be able to see? Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me introduce myself. I don't take much time as Anthony has already introduced me. Thanks, Anthony, for that. So before starting the topic, I wanted to know how many of you know SAP?
Yes, we have been on SAP for very long, hands-on as well.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because if the audience is not into SAP, then it doesn't make sense for me to go in deeper conversations. Like
I think always usually the ZIPINARs are, we do it high level. I think whatever the business level, high level, that's why we are zipping multiple topics into 1 hour.
Okay. Thank you so much. So that's fine. So I will just give a brief overview. If time permits, then I can take you into the deeper configuration if required. Okay, that sounds good?
Yes.
Okay, so let me give a brief about intercompany sale. So what is the intercompany sale in sales and distribution? Sales and distribution is one module in SAP. So the SAP folks are already aware of it. So what is an intercompany sale? So in a scenario when any sales organization accepts orders from customer, but they do not have enough product, enough stock in order to deliver to the customer. So what they do, they will inform the other company, which belongs to the same parent company. So we say it's a different company code or different sales organization. So they inform us to deliver the goods to the customer. So that's how the company delivers the products for a customer order from a plant which is belonging to another company code. So even though they all belong under the same umbrella group of companies, but legally they are considered as different company codes and different plants. So suppose a sales organization A, it accepts orders from a customer, but that sales organization does not have the stock, and the stock belongs to stock is available with another sales organization belong to another company code B. So that plant which belong to that company code, they will deliver the product directly to the customer. Okay. So this is called intercompany sale. So that's the reason, that's the term came with intercompany sale. And in SAP, there are two different company codes which are created in finance. The sales organization is always assigned to the company code, so which receives the order from the customer, and it is called as the ordering company or the sales organization. So the company or the sales organization which is accepting the orders from the customer is called the ordering company. And the plant belonging to a different company code which delivers material to the customer is called a supplying company or supplying plant. So how does it work? So we need to do basic configuration for all these things, like assigning plant to the company code and sales and to the sales organization and distribution channel. And because another company is supplying the stock to the end customer, that supplying company will create the invoice, will create the billing document to the ordering company. So that is the reason this is called intercompany billing. Since the intercompany sales has happened, now we need to do the billing also, right? So that billing, which the supplying company sends to the ordering company, that this billing is called the intercompany billing. And in SAP, we represent it with the notation as IV. That is a type for standard billing type. Okay. So in intercompany billing, supplying company has intercompany sales area based on the supplying plant. Now, the ordering company, should be created as a payer in intercompany sales area. Why? Because they have to ultimately pay to the supplying company, right? But the end customer will pay to the company or the sales organization which has accepted the order. So the end customer will directly pay to that company. But another company, since another company is delivering the goods to the end customer, for them, who has to pay? So this company has to pay. Okay, so that's the reason this company, this sales organization will be created as payer in intercompany sales area. So we will define this payer as an internal customer number. So that I'm going to show you further in the configuration part. And for this one, the pricing procedure will be different. Usually it is ZIV001, but depending on different customers, they can name it differently. Any customized procedures will start with either Y or Z. So say, for example, ZIV001, and the condition type for this kind of intercompany price is termed as ZIV1. So this is all the SAP terms. So intercompany billing document is posted directly to the vendor account in FI using EDI. So EDI setup has to be done with an EDI expert. Okay. So RD04 is the output type used, and this is determined in intercompany billing type IV. Any questions? Let me go further if no questions. So that's what I'm showing in a graphical representation. So the sales organization 3000 is the ordering sales organization, which will accept the orders from the customer. And a plant 1200, which belongs to another sales organization 1000, that plant will deliver the goods directly to the customer. Okay. And the sales organization 3000, which is belonging to the company 3000, it will send the billing document. It will generate the invoice and send it to the end customer. Whereas on the other hand, the sales organization 1000, they will create the intercompany invoice and send it to the sales organization 1000. So this is how the graphical representation of intercompany sales and billing. Any questions until now? If you are
No,
okay,
thank you. Yes. Yeah.
and if you are okay, I will take you to the configuration part. So this is purely SAP configuration. If anybody is interested, otherwise, that's it.
Yeah, please go forward.
Okay, no problem. So let me start the configuration part. So this is like a step-by-step configuration. How do we do it in SAP? So whatever we talk, this is a high-level overview. But how do we do that in real-time scenario in SAP? So this is all whatever I explained in the presentation. Say, for example, if you take the customer as 300711 and the sales area for creating the sales order is 3010 and the delivering plant is 1200, material is R1006. So the company code 3000, the sales organization is 3000, which accepts the sales orders from the customer 300711. And the plant 1200 will deliver the goods to the customer, which is belonging to the company code 1000. So how do we do this? There are different steps. So first thing is determination of billing type IV and the payer to which the supplying plant should bill. We need to define the sales area in which payer should be defined. The pricing procedure for intercompany billing. So normally the pricing procedure for the regular invoice is different. That's the standard RVA 001. But in our client's scenario, we will name it with starting with Z or Y. So what I'm trying to say here is both the pricing procedures are different. The pricing procedures for the standard billing and sales is different, and the pricing procedure for intercompany billing is different. Okay, and posting of intercompany invoice will be done in MM. MM is another module, material management. So that posting will be done in MM module. Okay, so I'm not covering into the MM module. I'm just talking about the SD part. So the first step, as I told you, the plant 1200, which is a delivering plant, it has to be assigned to the ordering sales organization 3000 and the distribution channel 10. So that is the configuration. Okay, and then we need to define the order type for the intercompany billing. So
Hey,
generally,
Srini,
yes, go ahead.
Are you sharing some other screen?
Oh yes, I'm sharing the screen. Are you not able to see?
We're still looking at PowerPoint.
Okay. So let me see, how do I share? I thought I'm already sharing it. So let me share my screen again. And I need to take the screen. Are you able to see now?
Yeah, we see it now. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, sorry for that. Okay. So yeah, so I'm at the beginning only, nothing we have lost. So let me repeat this one. So this is what I explained to you. This company code 3000, sales organization 3000 is the ordering sales organization from the customer 300711. And the plant 1200 is a delivery plant which belongs to the company code 1000. Okay. So here I have discussed about the configuration part. The first thing is how this billing type IV gets determined, and the payer has to be defined, the supplying plant, the sales area in which payer should be defined, the pricing procedure for intercompany billing, the posting of intercompany invoice in material master. So this is what I was talking about. This plan 1200 has to be assigned to the sales organization 3000 and distribution channel 10. And the next thing is we need to define the order type for intercompany billing. So these are all you can see in intercompany billing, which is under billing, which is under sales and distribution. This is the navigation part. This is all SPRO, under SPRO configuration. Okay. So this intercompany invoice type IV has to be assigned to the standard sales order document type OR. So that is another important step in this configuration. And as I told you, the ordering sales organization payer has to be defined as the internal internal company customer for ordering sales organization 3000. So that has to be defined as a payer, because this is the one, this is a payer who is going to pay to that intercompany sales organization, because they have delivered the goods directly to the customer and we have to pay to that company. So in order to do that, we need to define it as a payer. Okay, so it is under billing, intercompany billing. So define internal customer number by sales organization. Sales organization is 3000 and the internal customer number, the payer, is 30,000. So this is the intercompany sales area using which supplying company 1000, supplying client 1200, bills ordering company 3000. The same thing we're talking about here. So assigning organizational units by plant. So this plant is 1200, the delivery plant. So it has to be assigned to the sales organization, distribution channel, and division. And payer 3000, which I already defined before internal. And this is a pricing procedure. So you can name it in any way. So this is a pricing procedure for intercompany billing ZIV 001. And this is the main condition type. ZIV1 is a condition type for price that the supplying company 1000 will charge to the ordering company 3000. And this is mandatory in this pricing procedure, which is very important condition type ZIV. Okay, so if you go to the pricing procedure, it looks like this: step, counter, condition type, from and to, manual, mandatory, statistical condition type, print, sub, requirement, alternate condition. So these all are the part of the pricing procedure. So how this ZIV1 gets determined? From PI01. That is the access sequence. We have to define PI01. So in that we have important fields like condition class means B. B represents prices. Calculation type is C. It's a quantity. Condition category is I. I means price for intercompany billing. And we have to make sure we have to check amount. And the reference condition type is always PI01 for this intercompany billing type. And the automatic posting to the vendor account. This is the MM part. So this is done with the help of MM and EDI expert. So posting in MM is to be done for this intercompany invoice in company 3000. So this is done using EDI. Output is RD04, the standard output type RD04. Okay. So these are all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 important steps under intercompany billing. So here we are talking about the output type RT04. Okay. So you can define the processing routines, partner functions, mail, tile, and text. So this is transmission medium is EDI. Dispatch time is sent with periodical scheduled job. Partner function is bill to party BP. So this is the EDI settings, which EDI expert will do it. The logical address, the destination in SAP system. So he has to map these settings. And also the company code, for which vendor it is defined. EDI and MM Preset are done with the help of respective experts. So this is all about intercompany sales and billing. Any questions? You're welcome.
Okay, so anyone has questions?
No, thank you very much for the overview, Srini, and also the earlier speaker, Srinivas GRK. It was really very good presentations, and your seasoned expertise would really help the community, and that's what we constantly do: inform and empower.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
All right. So that concludes for today. Thank you, speakers, for your time and inspiration, also for the concise and very insightful talks. So just to let you know, we have our live youth Let Us Talk webinar every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And this week, the topic is youth's creative holiday dates. Yeah, you can join the preparation sessions every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time by registering at our website, letustalkit.com/youth. So if there are any other further questions, you can post it now. If none, then we can conclude the day.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, speakers. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.